What is going on? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. I hope you guys are having yourselves a spectacular day. And I hope that I can make your day just a little bit better with a fantastic episode that I had with none other than Tino and Jerry from Jelq to Grow. You might be asking yourself, what is Jelq to Grow? Well, I'm here to tell you. Jelq to Grow is basically a PE balm that Tino and Jerry put together because they realized there was nothing really that existed for us in the PE world that really did the job the way that we wanted, right? They use Vaseline, coconut oil, all that stuff it's okay to get started, but it's not like Jelq to Grow. And I would know because I've already gone through about 3 tins of this stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I've been extremely impressed, and I was just delighted and completely honored in getting to have them on the show. And before we jump in so that they can give you the in-depth explanation as to why they created it, the development, the research, all that good stuff that went into creating probably the best gelking product on the market, let me just tell you a little bit about what it does and we'll jump on in. First off, it moisturizes. Second off, it helps off with smoothness. It's also nutritive, right? It's got shea butter, which contains different levels of vitamin A, E, and F, right? You got dry skin down there, helps to moisturize, and it helps with the healing and repairing, and it also has the anti-inflammatory things that we need to ensure that we can come back bigger and good to go for the next round. Because as you all know, for anybody that's in the PE world, you're gonna be putting a whole lot of stress and strain on your pecker. It just is what it is. It comes with the territory. So you want to make sure you have the right tools to make sure you can combat and stay safe, basically. I mean, you want to stay safe while you're doing this with the best products available on the market. And this right here, when it comes to a product for gelking, a product for lubrication, man, honestly, it just towers above the rest. I mean, I use it for pumping, I use it for gelking, and post-workout, even if I'll be hanging, which I've been doing quite a lot of as of lately, you know what? It's just been super helpful in absolutely every regard when it comes to PE. But enough of my yapping, guys. Let's jump on into another episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. All right, let's jump on in. Looking to get started in PE? Check out the masculinehealthsolutions.com ebook available now titled How to Get a Bigger Penis. All right, so all you guys looking to make gains in the male enhancement, penis enlargement, penis enhancement realm, this book is for you. And if you're a beginner, this is just the book you may have been looking for. So be sure to check it out at masculinehealthsolutions.com. The link is in the description below. Again, the book is titled How to Make Your Penis Bigger, and it will offer you all the knowledge and know-how that you need to get started on your PE journey. All right, without any further ado, let's jump on in. Welcome to another episode of the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. Today, I am joined by Tino and Jerry from Jelq to Grow, as you guys may or may not know. And if you're not following them on Instagram, be sure to check them out on Instagram. And the handle is very simple. It is Jelq to Grow. Tino and Jerry, how are you guys?
Hey, Conrad. How's everything going?
Everything is good. Everything's good. Tino, how are your things? Your neck of the woods, man.
Everything fine over here. I'm very happy to be on Masculine Health Solutions. Thank you, Conrad, for the opportunity of being here. We really like your podcast, the time you invest on it to spread the word about PE and educate lots of men on this interesting subject. Do you want to introduce yourself, Jerry?
Yeah, thanks very much, Tina. I'm Jerry, Jelq to grow down here in Australia. Uh, I'm sure we'll get back to you in just a sec, but of course you're over there in Argentina, and it's wonderful, Conrad, to be chatting to you over there in Vancouver. We're both really quite honoured to be on your show. We think you do a wonderful job for men in terms of the PE, but certainly in terms of your holistic health approach to men's journey as human beings. The way the whole PE fits in with exercise, with general well-being, with nutrition, with their sleep, with things like their brain health. It's one thing that strikes us is that you can't really be successful at PE if you're not a healthy person.
100% agreed. 100% agree. And that's the thing too that I came to realize. It's like, because even in my story, when I was overweight, and I was working full on graveyard shift, like I was telling Tino too before, like I still work late. My circadian rhythm isn't perfect. However, you will see everything tie into whether it's PE or weight loss or muscle gain, whatever it is that you're after, as far as like physical development and even mental fog. Like I just found for myself that if I wasn't in the right place, as far as being healthy and all the actions that I was taking on a daily basis, I was going to go nowhere in every aspect. And I started to see it kind of, come into play in regards to PE, which is kind of why I said, hey, you know what? If I could talk about this in a podcast form and try to bring in more people and see how can we maximize our manhood, but in every aspect, what can we do and what can our full potential really be? But now that you bring that up, I want to know what got you guys started into PE. Tino, if you could tell us a little bit about your story first.
Sure, no problem. Well, in reality, when I first stumbled upon PE, oh, by the way, I wanted to say to apologize for my English. It might not be the best.
Hey,
Spanish is my
don't worry
primary
about it.
language.
Hey, no stress, no stress. Believe me. I mean, hey, it just adds a little bit more flavor to the episode. That's all.
That's great. Happy about it. Okay, so as I mentioned, I wasn't really looking for PE. Didn't even thought PE existed. Just saw the common and well known ads on porn websites that promise miraculous results and that sort of thing, and even those unusual and mysterious herbs you can find sometimes on fairs, on marketplaces at the street. Uh, Even over here in Latin America, we have a huge amount of natural herbs, So you get to know lots of stories about these herbs, which promises these kind of effects, growth effects. But when I first stumbled upon PE, I was looking for uh, testimonies or reviews about uh, multi-orgasmia, multi-orgasmic experiences on men.
Hmm.
I was reading Mantak Chia's book, The Multi-Orgasmic Man, and
Yeah.
and when I searched on Google and opened one of the first results I got, I found myself reading a debate on a very interesting or rather, yeah, you could say that the topics uh, hooked my attention because I started reading on the sites of the website,
Yeah.
and I noticed all the subjects were related to something called penis enlargement.
Yeah.
And well, when I started digging a little bit more, and I found myself inside Thunder's place, and and that's how I first found about PE. And well, I am a student of anthropology, and I'm almost finishing my degree. I'm finishing my thesis,
Nice.
and which is related to the subject, to PE. Um, because when I first entered the Thunder place and I kept visiting the site, I got very interested on what was going on there. Not just on the possibility of growing your member, which is something which can surprise a lot of men, but also the whole social logic which was happening and still happens there in Thunder's place, because you must have talked about this in other episodes, but uh, for me it really struck me that, well, PE, or even talking about your dick, or any dick with other men, is something uh, taboo, or for us even something which could indicate you're uh, into that, or
Hmm.
or even that you are insecure about your size. The
Yeah.
the only fact that you want to talk about that, for some people, represents that you are into other men, or that you are small down there.
Hmm.
And so it really struck me to see all those men talking freely, with no uh,
Inhibitions.
reserves,
Yeah.
inhibitions, about the topic, about not only the topic, but also uh, their deepest insecurities,
Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
um, which made me think how powerful anonymity or anonymity is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and on a and I can still keep talking a little bit more about my whole anthropological uh, interest on the matter, uh, but we can jump into that later, so I don't accaparate the whole podcast for this.
No, for
But
sure. For sure. The thing is, all the points you're making, it's ironic because it's kind of like I told you guys before, and where people would ask me, because I'll be doing the personal training side of things. I'd be like, oh yeah, well, and I open up, or they may have a question that comes up randomly or whatever. Say, oh, I heard from the grapevine that this is possible, and I'll be like, oh yeah, whatever. And at first I'll be like, oh, that's kind of weird. Then they come back later like, hey, my friend kind of wants to know about that stuff you were talking about. And it's almost like people don't want to admit it, and especially with men, it's almost like, oh no, that's not me, I don't need that, I'm huge, until they realize that they're really not, right? And that's the thing too, everybody's self-conscious to a degree, regardless of whatever it may be, right? And in this situation, it's funny because it's our size, right? Which is something that's always kind of in question. And society always tells us, oh, you should just be happy, you should just be whatever, you should be
mm,
confident. But as soon as you discover the fact that, hey, you know what, in the same way that I can build muscle at the gym, I can also create a longer, girthier penis, right? Like I can make gains in that regard as well. It almost becomes like, why not? And why can't I talk
Yeah.
about it with other guys, right?
Yeah.
So
mm.
Exactly.
it's one of those things that I'm like, why not, develop yourself to your full potential, which is kind of the whole purpose of MHS, is like, yo, let's see how much of our, health issues we can solve. And this is one of them, right? Like, why not perform better? Why not feel better? And why not
Mm.
just increase your size? Like, I don't see anything wrong with it. And I completely agree with everything you said, Tino. But
Mm.
moving on to Jerry, I mean, what was your experience like, and what got you into PE?
Well, CJ, I'm probably on the older side of your demographic of your fans. But you've said a few things in your podcasts that have really struck a chord with me. I'd give you an example that relates again to my age, and I'm a fair bit older than you. But you said when you were a young fella that porn was really just a photo, a pic from a magazine. Well, that was my experience as a young fella. I had this buxom lady, I guess I'm pretty sure she was from Penthouse. She wasn't even a centerfold. She was like half an A4 size.
Nice.
And she used to stay, or the picture used to stay with my homework desk. And when I did my homework, she'd sit next to me on the chair there.
It's a good luck charm.
And this was, I don't want to get off topic, but this must have been the Bush era still, because there was definitely all the porn we saw was Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, women still had their pubic hair. It was always, there weren't men involved, and that's something I've talked about with Tina before.
Interesting.
You never saw a dick in porn.
Yeah.
And so it's a different era, I guess. But I can remember also being quite aware of wanting to at least be average.
Yeah.
So I'd get a ruler out and measure myself and make sure. Yeah, I'm average. I'm 6. I'm only an average build guy. Big deal. But I didn't really discuss it with people. I thought it was a bit weird, but I thought maybe I'm a bit weird. But I wanted to make sure that I was 6.
Yeah.
6 inch length, and girth was never a thing.
Exactly.
All right, so moving on. I also related to another one of your podcasts where you said you spent $500 on the pills.
Oh yeah, that was me.
Well, I don't really know why, but as I got older, I ended up in commuting roles where I was, in remote locations, and I bought a couple of pumps. I bought an extender, but I never really got committed to this idea.
Yeah.
It was just fun. I'd pick them up in a sex shop, etc. Muck around with them, and eventually just get rid of them. So I wasted some cash along the way, but enjoyed it. But it didn't commit to this growth story. So how can I describe my own assets? Probably back then, so I was average, and I was a grower rather than a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And we never used to worry too much about the hair down there. It was never really a concept. You just had what you had.
Yeah.
And anyway, in my 20s, I got an STD. And it's the common one. It's the most common one. I still get it, but occasionally you don't ever get rid of it. You live with it. It's that one.
Oh, great.
I won't give you the actual name, but
yeah.
When you get a bit stressed, when you get down a bit anxious, your old friend comes back.
No.
And you live with it. It's not a death sentence. It's just something you carry on with. So when I first got it, I used to get the manifestations right in the middle of my top of my shaft of my dick.
Yeah.
So, and when you first get it, you get it more often, and then as you live with it, you don't get it as much. And now I get it on the back of my leg on the rare occasions that I get it. But back then, in my 20s, that's where it appeared, right on my dick.
Mm-hmm.
And you get scarring from all these sores that come and go. You do get a bit of scarring. And it never affected my erections. You didn't notice it when I was erect, but when I was flaccid, I just noticed that a bit more. So, moving along, once I remember quite clearly, it was 2018. I was at a social function out at one of these remote places where I was working, and it was a cold night, and I'd had a few beers, and some smart bastard decided he'd, in front of everyone, he'd pull down my shorts. So here I was standing there, cold, growing, not a shower.
Oh, man.
Scar tissue, blah, blah, whatever. And that was it. Just pulled them back up and got on with it. But the next day, I went into work, and I used to, because of these remote places, you'd work a bit in a local community every now and then.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. So this one morning, I went in, put my computer on, started my work, and then went off to do this community assistance. And I come back, and I thought, oh shit, I've left my bloody computer on. Oh, hell, there's a lot of emails there. And what do you know? Some smart aleck had got on the computer and sent emails to all these people about my dick.
Oh,
and
man.
I thought, I think I've been cyberbullied. And anyway, I thought, yeah, fuckers. So I did what any self-respecting grower, not shower, would do. That evening, I went where Gerard went. I went to Tino went. I went to Thunder's place, and I did everything they said to do as a starter. Took my proper measures. It turned out I was a bit girthy because I was 6.0 by 5.75.
Yeah, that'll work to that.
I did the exercises. And in 4 months, I got those good newbie gains. In 4 months, I grew 0.9 in length.
Yeah.
And now that was May of 2018, and now I'm up there. Oh, it doesn't really, what's it matter, the size, but I've kept growing.
Yeah.
I'm 7 3/4 by 6 1/4. So this stuff does work.
Yeah.
And then we get to Jelq to grow. I was always interested. I formulated cosmetics over the years, and I had a formulated cosmetic with me at the time, which is 85% shea butter.
Mm-hmm.
And the product, effectively, what became the product was it's got 4 positive elements for guys that are doing a PE. It helps you do the PE, as in it helps you do the jelqing action, the stretching action. We're pretty agnostic as to what methods you use, but it helps with devices as well, without being too greasy. So there's one. It helps to do the actual exercises. Number 2, it's the aesthetics. It makes your dick, and you can use it for ball enhancement, ball stretching as well. So it makes your dick and your balls look great, aesthetically very pleasing. It heals your skin. So that's one of the major elements of shea butter.
Yes.
And our product, and it promotes collagen production. So it's helping you heal after you, and you talk constantly about the micro tears. You're healing the micro tears. The other day I heard you with a prominent player in the PE world, and he talked about tissue expansion. Anyway, the idea is to get these micro tears, and shea butter will promote collagen production. So I'd stumbled on something that was helping the PE come along. I'd never get injured. I never got irritation. I don't want to dominate the whole thing, but after that, I went and talked about my product with an adult shop, sex shop, and this gentleman that runs the shop has been a great supporter, and he's recommended it for masturbation. And everyone that comes in the shop, he buys a pump or an extender or a bath mate, he recommends Jelq to grow with it.
Yeah.
And, again, as I said, we're agnostic. You don't actually just Jelq. That was a good name, we thought. And Jelqing's worked wonders for me. But, as from Thunder's Place, you can go on different forums. I'm sure you've noticed that. And now it's a different world to that one I described initially. We've moved on from the Bush era, and whether it be Barbara or George, it's all different world. It's all changed. So, as Tino was saying at the start, you can chat about these things with complete strangers and feel totally at ease about it. So I went on a couple of forums, and I came across this young fellow named Tino from Argentina, and we hit it off, and we talked about our product and the concept of PE and helping men in that journey.
Yeah,
So,
well,
here we are.
if I could give my 2 cents, like I was telling you guys, and thank you again for sending me the product. And that's the one thing that I will always talk about. People will talk about their products, but people that actually stand by them will actually be like, hey, you know what, try it out or whatever. And I tried it out, man, and I could attest to that. Like I was telling you guys before, it's like I felt that after, because I've been using it for jelqing / pumping, because I've just been doing more of a maintenance routine. And for myself, I just felt like for the skin, like it felt awesome. Like it felt tremendous. And post workout, usually my skin was kind of beat up from pumping, especially, for me, I gave myself discoloration in the past because I was marathon pumping / clamping, and I was going a little bit too hard, right? And I found that using your product definitely changed the way that it felt and the way that it looked. And that was kind of one of the biggest things that I was really blown away by that. But I also found that it helped me to retain that girth post workout as well. Like, I think maybe it's just the healthier blood, the healthier circulation, maybe, where it just kind of helped it to sustain that. Whereas there were other times where, you may pump and you'll see that pump subside in 2-3 hours. Whereas now it's like, I would see it hold on for pretty much the whole day, where it made a big difference. It looked healthier. And my wife loved the smell of it, so maybe I'll get more blowjobs.
And the taste.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I haven't tasted it yet, but that's her job.
Ask you.
Yeah, but no, definitely a big fan of it, man. Definitely a big fan.
Yeah, that's great, mate. As I said, I think you're describing the aesthetics, so you're happy with the look of it.
100%, man. And the thing is, it's the look and the feel too. That to me, it's like, and I mean, because I pumped with both, and I've jelqed with obviously Vaseline, coconut oil, and all that stuff was kind of messy. This one, it's different because it's oily, but at the same time, it's not like it gets stuck everywhere almost. Like, when you use coconut oil and it's like just dripping down, making a big mess, and it looks like, I don't know, I was deep frying Frito-Lay on the couch or something. Whereas when I use this product, it kind of just sticks to the shaft of my penis and obviously the head, all that kind of stuff. But it does it in a way where it's like, it doesn't make a huge mess, which to me is a difference maker, because I don't got to clean up everything. And sometimes, I don't know about you guys, there's certain exercises in PE where it's like, I just don't want to do this because I don't want to clean up the mess.
Yeah, and that happens a lot also with warming up, don't you think?
Yeah, because warming up, it's kind of like, okay, I got to do this stuff, and I'm supposed to jelq before, but I don't really want to jelq because then I got to clean up this whole mess, and I got to wipe down and do whatever. And it's like, I don't really want to do all that.
Shea butter definitely just absorbs quickly.
Yeah, and if you let me, I just wanted to mention also the geeky side of the product, because sure, shea butter is fantastic, because it has tryptines and linoleic acid, which they're great components for, as Paul mentioned, collagen deposition, cell proliferation, which is a major important factor on PE because, well, we're talking about making micro tears on the cells and creating new tissue because of the exercises. And these elements help boost the processes. And also, um, whenever you whenever you went a little bit too much with your training and you got some inflammation, uh, this is very, very effective for that purposes because the elements I previously mentioned are great because they have some anti-inflammatory properties.
Mm-hmm.
When it's about injuries, for example, for example, if you get a donut effect after pumping,
Yeah.
it's great to apply Jelq to grow the Jelqing balm over it because it helps that inflammation reduce much more faster. And also another element which is in our formula is beeswax, and beeswax is a great ingredient because it helps lock in the moisture inside your skin.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. That's why you feel like the moisturizing effect lasts longer than usual.
Yeah.
Also, there's the whole healing side, which Paul can also add a little bit more about that, because, well, as he mentioned, the whole issue he had with scarring tissue,
Mm-hmm.
these ingredients helps a lot to restore and heal the skin. For example, beeswax is super rich in vitamin A because
Yeah.
which is a great element for stretching marks and scar tissue. That's why we found out that this formula is so PE friendly, and it looks like it was thought as
Yeah.
thought for PE originally, you know.
But I think all that said, it's important to stress that we don't claim that our product, our Jelq balm, makes your penis bigger.
You tell me I will make 4 inches gains overnight? Oh man! No.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Go ahead, Jerry.
But we do claim and know that it makes the journey easier. The actual exercises are easier, and the healing is happening straight away. So you can use our balm before, during, and after, and it just makes everything work so much better.
Well, that's kind of why I always draw parallels from, PE to the gym, right? It's like, I mean, I fell for those, like I mentioned before, I fell for those pills and I bought like $500 worth of, a bunch of pills that didn't work. And I mean, God only knows what was in them, probably sugar and baking soda for all I know. But when it comes to Jelq to grow, I see it as one of those products that I would use, like, let's say, when you're training hard or something, you may use a tiger balm to help recover faster, and you massage a muscle to help it if it's cramping up, or it's something along those lines. In the same way you would see that when you're working out hard and you really want to help that healing process. Obviously it's not going to be like, oh, this is just a miracle product that's going to just make you immense overnight. We've seen those ads and we know that it's just not possible. And that's one of the things that I wanted to bring to light with the podcast was like, hey, you know what? Don't fall for the same scams that I did, because they don't work, A, and then B, you're just going to lose all your money. And you just be frustrated. And a lot of people go down the rabbit hole, or not down the rabbit hole, but just kind of get pessimistic and just say, hey, none of it works. It's all a lie, right? And that's not the case. It's just, you got to approach it from a more pragmatic way, I guess, and just see like, hey, it is possible. There are things that will help, but there is no magic pill when it comes to PE. There is no magic pill when it comes to working out.
Conrad, that's another thing I wanted to say at the start about your masculine health solutions and your whole approach. You in no way prey on anybody's insecurities. And I think that is an issue with this industry. It's a growing industry, but there are business owners out there that prey on guys' insecurities, and we certainly are proud to say that we have no intention and would never do that. Certainly never do it intentionally.
No.
And that's why we're proud to be on your show. So you're looking after guys, and that's an important part of it.
Well, I mean, coming from a self-conscious man as myself, because the truth of the matter is, like, we all have our issues. We all have whatever, right, that you want to work on. Like, for me at the gym, it's like, I still work on these things. I'm not as self-conscious as I was when I was younger and single, whatever. But at the same time, it's almost like these companies know what they're doing, and they know that it's easy to prey on somebody who's watching porn and then sees a massive dong and then tells them, like, hey, you'll gain 4 inches overnight. And it's, unfortunately, when you're young, you're more gullible. And that's kind of the thing where I'm like, if I can steer more of the male population to be like, hey, it's possible, but you got to work out. That's kind of what I want to do. And not just, it's the entire male population to say, hey, you know what, there's truth in this, but you got to put in your part too. It's never going to be just like some magical solution unless you get surgery, which I don't know about you guys, I don't really want to get.
No.
And there are naysayers out there who say you shouldn't do this and shouldn't do that. And look, people have got to be really careful. They've really got to approach the journey like a marathon, not a sprint. That's what you often say. That's so important. But yeah, it's just vital to do it slowly. And you can get injured doing push-ups. You can get injured, on a bench press, even a light one. You can do things the wrong way.
Yep.
It doesn't mean the whole thing of going to the gym is something you shouldn't do just because it can hurt your biceps. It's just everything should be done carefully in life.
Exactly. Yeah, moderation. And that's kind of my programs that I'll design or the articles that I'll write. Whenever I write them, if it's a beginner's program, I always talk about reaching for the low-hanging fruit. Because if you're a newbie, you know that you'll make gains and you don't need that much stimulation just yet. But I think people kind of get hyped up right out the gate where they're like, oh, you know what, I'll try hanging. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't, maybe you should start off with some light manuals or something like that. But we'll definitely discuss a little bit more. We'll just take a quick break right now, guys. Just hold tight. All right, welcome back. Tino and Jerry again from Jelq to Grow, giving us a special sauce that makes all the ladies happy. And more than anything, helping us recuperate. So guys, be sure to check out jelqtogrow.com as well. But one thing we did want to open up with, and I was talking to Tino about this, was his studies and how in, ancient times, it's always kind of been relevant. And it's always been something that we've always looked at, and that is the male phallus and how it's been represented in different societies. And Tino's anthropological studies have kind of led him down this road that I think is super interesting. So, Tino, tell us a little bit more about how that all went down, how you made that discovery, and why you decided to write your thesis on that.
Sure. Well, firstly, I can say, well, I have always been interested on masculinities, which is how we socially build our identities as men. Because, well, all identities are related to other people. I mean, that the whole concept as individual. It's very difficult. In reality, everything, every concept, every identity is related to others people. We are, in a way, constituted in opposition to others, and that's how masculinity also works. And I have always been very intrigued on masculinity because, well, I was raised up by my mother, and I lived on a family of mostly women. And when I visited my um, father's side of the family, which was a huge family. I mean, huge. I had 50 cousins,
Oh,
lots of them men, uh, and there was a huge competition between males. You know, they competed for everything, and with everything I mean in sports, in how much they got laid, on how much fit they were, and for me that was a little bit overwhelming. And
hmm.
when I went to visit my father, it wasn't something that I used to celebrate too much. So that whole way of being man, because the whole idea of being man is always related to other men, you know. And when I first stumbled upon Thunder's place, I was so intrigued, or so surprised to see, well, lots of men commenting, seeing other dicks, the dick pictures, and commenting, giving opinions, feedback freely
Hmm.
without any remorse. And well, um, of course, Thunder Place is a community open for any sexual orientation, but I think most of them are heterosexuals.
Yeah.
But what really intrigued me was, well, how is that? Uh, is this happening? You know, how is that in public places, in groups with friends, this could never happen, and over here we're all saying, bro, you're huge, oh, that's a fantastic cock, or that dick is nice, or stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I really got interested on what was going on there, and to see also so much people with experiences like Paul mentioned previously, you know, not, I mean, experiences
Sure.
where you got humiliated or traumatized, not only because of men, but also for because of women.
Hmm.
And for me, it's clear that uh, there's a whole concept, there's a whole idea of the, well, it's how to say, um, let me translate it, because I can only think this in Spanish. Um, so some like must be, you must be this, you must be like social demands, you know,
Measuring
and
up. Yeah.
measuring up,
Mm,
you know.
literally.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, well, I got very interested on how this whole you must be big idea was built. And sure, it's something which is related to humans' history, because, as you mentioned, there are lots of cultures who um, devoted, they really admire or represent the phallus on a big size.
Yeah.
But that's not the case for all of the previous cultures. For example, Greeks.
Greeks versus
Uh,
Romans. Yeah.
yeah, and for example, for the Greeks, it was the smaller sizes which were more aesthetically pleasing, because there was a whole idea of, if you're big, you're a barbarian, and that's not aesthetically pleasing. So the aesthetical attributes which were more evaluated were actually being small. And
Hmm.
well, that's very interesting, because it tells us that this hasn't been like this for always.
Yeah.
But you know, over the time, and I think in these more modern times, as Paul mentioned, porn plays a huge role on how our masculinities are depicted and how we think of ourselves as men, and
Yeah.
how we think of ourselves of what we need to be and what we should be and how other men should look like. And well, I mean, lots of men on Thunder's Place and other forums tell and share their experiences, and most of them, lots of them at least, have started PE or even measured themselves because they compare themselves to the screen.
Yeah.
And so by this factor, we all, men and women as well, started considering big sizes as something that needs devotion, like that needs, let me translate this, idolize. We
Yeah.
idolize big sizes. Um, but in reality, well, there's a huge road which separates this from reality, because lots of men with huge sizes have difficulties in sex, and in reality this tends to be a problem for lots of men. So what going back to my study, I started investigating a factor, you could say, an assembly of three elements, a relationship, a triad relationship between three elements, and those three elements, you could say, are social mechanisms which relegated socialization inside Thunder's Place and even Telegram groups. And those three elements are curiosity, competition, and desire. And I was very amazed to see that those three elements appeared in lots of the social interactions between men, because whenever you first log in a Thunder's Place, you might get a little bit curious on seeing others people dicks, and you may have someone or lots may have questions themselves. Well, why is this happening to me? Why the fuck I'm interested on seeing others men dicks? And the thing is, well, it's difficult to isolate one reason, but that curiosity is often linked to competition and often linked to
Yeah.
desire, because you may want to see another person's dick because internally you want to know if you're bigger or if you're smaller. You want to know where are you at the whole scales of measurements.
Well, it's kind of like, where do I measure up in the grand scheme of things, which is something that makes perfect sense, because it's almost like you use it as a reference point, right? It's like,
Exactly.
okay, well, where do I fall then? Am I really average? Am I really small? Like, where am I? It's almost like one of those things that you use that you're like, okay, well, now that I can really see what exists out there, now I know where I really fall. And I think one of the big things too is like, you're looking for truth as well, right?
Exactly. Well, you're looking for truth, but at the same time, we get back to this thing I mentioned previously, that your identity is always defined in relationship to others' identity.
Yeah.
You can't have a known definition of your masculinity without having others' definition of masculinity, or comparing. Well, the whole idea of masculinity often depends on the men that surround you.
Yeah.
Even
need
if
a reference point.
you need a reference point, and the reality is that this is competition as its raw form, and competition is the way most men build their identity, and that doesn't mean well, competition can get a little bit how to say, harmful, or maybe, well, not too much pleasant for lots of people. The truth is that we're always comparing between each other in everything, and that's how self-esteem and our own perceptions of ourselves work. We're always comparing. But in terms of masculinity, it fascinated me how when you are interested on seeing other, you may be subconsciously, correct me because I don't know how to pronounce that correctly.
Subconsciously, it's close enough, man.
Close enough. Subconsciously, you are trying to compete in a way. You are trying to. You're curious, but you're curious at the same time because you may want to know where you're at, as you mentioned before. But in other sides, and that could be perfectly normal because sexual orientation is not black or white, but a wide spectrum, which has no defined colors. You know, it's like a spectrum in reality. You may be into some stuff, but not all the pack. You know.
Yeah.
You might have some desires, and images can spark that. And well, lots of ourselves discovers our sexual orientations because how we relate to images. Another, and I can this, if you want, we can close with this comment. Another finding I discovered through my investigation is the power, if you will, of images. Because if you think about it, most men want to be bigger because, well, these days they must have seen something on blacked videos or brassers or whatever, as you said, huge dongs, and well, that may have sparked some insecurity. But to summarize, there was an image which sparked some insecurity, and that image by itself has the power to do that. And that's that image. It's no, you could say, let me translate it, harmless, because this image is shown in a specific context, usually in a setup where this dick is being let me translate this again. Idolized. I mean, this body is being idolized in terms of wow, and those expression of surprise, and pushing up a boxer and the dong bounces up, you know, and a surprise face and all that, and well, that gets registered on your brain, you know, and it's not like you see how being big is evaluated, but also how big sizes awaken those expressions, those well, the ability to be desired in reality.
Exactly. Yeah, because the one thing that you're talking about that I definitely, you know, you see that as a kid. Let's say you're a kid and you're already insecure, right? You see that, and it's almost like she's worshiping this guy for the size of his cock. Right?
Worshipping, that was the word.
And that's kind of the thing where she's like, oh, like, and you know, and then he gives it to her, and obviously she's pleasured because she's like, yeah, you know, like, this is the monster cock. This is everything that she's ever wanted. But the irony is that when it comes to sex, you know, if you don't know where the clitoris is, good luck, you're lost, right?
Exactly.
There's more to it, but you're 100% right that we worship that, and I feel that porn has been designed in that sense that it's all about worshiping the big cock, the huge tits, the big ass. It's all about the extremes, anyways, right?
Yeah, it's about extremes. You're right, and you got the right word. Thank you for that. It's worshiping, and you learn by those images that size needs to be worshipped. Needs to be worshipped. And the thing is that when I was researching PE, I found out that lots of men got real bigger, I mean, they pursued to incarnate, to transform themselves into those images. I mean, to get bigger. And when they started getting bigger, sure, they started feeling better, but they started seeing in themselves those images they were pursuing. And when that happened, they started building a relationship with their members
Almost
of
like
worshiping.
Autoerotica almost, right?
Autoerotical.
Yes, like I turned myself, like I am awesome kind of thing.
Exactly. I mean, you get turned on your own cock.
Yeah.
To summarize.
So the mirror is a great PE tool, eh?
Yeah.
The device.
But this doesn't mean this doesn't mean this is something that indicates you're sick or something like that. Well, not at all. Not at all.
Well, it goes back to, mate, sorry to interrupt, but back to Conrad's constant analogy with the gym.
Yeah.
You don't think
exactly
take pics of their biceps and put it on Instagram or
seeing yourself in the mirror, for example, seeing your reflection, seeing your own reflection on the gym.
Yeah,
I don't think that
has a little bit of that element, that
exactly.
autoerotical. Exactly.
Well, that's just, I mean, that's kind of where it makes perfect sense and why it always ties back into that. Because it's kind of like when you'll be on Instagram and you'll be seeing all these guys that are just ripped, jacked, whatever. And let's say you're starting your summer cut, right? Where it's like, I need 10 weeks where I got to bring my calories down and know by the end of it, I'm going to be shredded. I'm going to be ripped. And then when you reach that point where it's like, yeah, I also, I'm ripped. I got my abs. I'm visible. I've put on more mass in my upper chest. Obviously, you're going to feel a certain way about yourself. You're going to look in the mirror and be like, damn, I'm killing it right now. I made it. And it's almost like, I think for a lot of men, obviously, when you're making PE gains, it's almost like, whoa, I thought, for me, what really drew me in and why it was so captivating is that I always heard it was impossible, right? Like, oh no, this is impossible. Nobody's ever done this. You're talking about voodoo or something that was beyond your scope of understanding. But then when you go out and do something like PE, where it's almost like, dude, I made a physiological change in my body that's supposed to be impossible. That's what really drew me in, because I'm like, whoa, you're telling me I can do things that a lot of people just automatically dismiss because they have a preconceived notion about it. The gym, we all know is possible. It's just like, do you want to put the work in? And that's kind of what I want to do, is bridge PE to the notion of, hey, it's possible, but you got to work at it, right? And obviously you're going to experience some of that autoerotica when you do see that, because obviously your member serves more than just one purpose, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but it's
the other elements of it too, which you've constantly stressed, Conrad, the better erections, the improvement for guys who have erectile dysfunction, the fact that this stuff is now recommended by urologists. Okay, that's for guys who've unfortunate enough to have some prostate issues, say that every time. And yeah, just sexual function generally. You've got to keep using it and get that blood down there. And the other thing that we've talked about, and you've always mentioned, but it's the edging idea. That's the idea that our balm is brilliant for edging.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's kind of like for guys that after a long session too, for anybody listening who hasn't done PE that much, edging is basically you stimulate yourself to the point where it's basically you're masturbating, but you're not coming. It's more about building endurance. And after a long PE workout, sometimes with all the stress and strain you've already put on your member, and then on top of that, you're going for like a 10-minute round, it can be difficult, which is why if I use it with a little bit of Jelq to grow, I put my magic sauce on top and, I'm good to go. And I'll feel great while I'm doing it as well. And that's kind of where it plays into you use a product to your benefit. But again, it's not magic. That's kind of the one thing where I tell people, I'm like, this is not magic. This is not a silver bullet. These are just different tools that we use to really get the most out of PE. And I think now what you guys are doing and why it's so excellent is kind of, you're on the same boat that I am, like, let's bridge the gap to the fact that, hey, it's possible, it's real, and more guys can do it. However, we got to change the way we look at the thing. And the things we're going to look at are going to change, because I think more people will get involved and more people are going to see that it's possible and that these tools exist. And if we use them to the best of our abilities, sky's the limit.
Right.
Yep.
All right, boys. But I had a great time talking to you guys. Any closing words, Tino and Jerry?
Yeah, for sure. And just wanted to mention to all the listeners who are with us today that will soon release some courses, some PE video courses, which we think are something that needs to be on the PE world, because lots of men find it difficult to start because, PE requires lots of reading, and PE requires lots of engaging with other people, and some don't want to really socialize for everything. So it's a good idea to just sit, watch, and learn and get started. So take a look to our website, and be tuned to our new updates and features and products will be releasing soon. Thank you all.
Jerry?
Yeah, thanks, Tino. That's spot on. Just keep a lookout, folks, for our updates via our website. Name's pretty obvious. The Jelq to grow with the bits before and after. You can see us on Instagram and Twitter. We're on Amazon. We're in all those spots, but we intend to be an important part of the PE world to help guys. It's pretty tough these days to be a man. It's that might sound a bit wishy-washy, but we see this toxic masculinity. We see men being dragged down because they're men, and there's elements of all of these developments that are fantastic, but for a lot of guys it's a bit of a struggle to find their identity. And nothing wrong with looking after yourself down there, so we thoroughly recommend it. And like you do, Conrad, with Masculine Health Solutions, it's a holistic approach.
100%.
One more thing I forgot, sorry. We also brought a free routine for you guys to download, through a free interactive routine. Nice. Which may help you keep motivated and check mark the days you have completed when training on the week. So I hope it's helpful, and also there will be a discount coupon for our Jelq Balm you can find on the description.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that I got all the links in the description below. And guys, I had an absolute pleasure. Tino, Jerry, I can't wait to see what else you guys got coming down the pipe. And I can't wait to have you guys on the show again, because I know we can talk for probably another couple hours, but
thank you, Conrad.
All right, thank you guys. Loved it.
All right, see you, Tino.
See you guys.
Thanks, man.